Hello, hello, you beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle. We talk all things life, love, spirituality, law of attraction, and all of that juicy goodness. In this video, we're going to talk about pivoting. How do we pivot with life, with the universe, with God, when we are thinking we're headed in one direction and the universe is like, hey, over here is where your manifestation is. It's where your desires are, where you're going to have a better trip, where you're going to have a better experience, but you're headed this way. We just need you to quickly pivot. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to make a quick change? Are you flexible, or are you stiff and rigid and not trusting your intuition? Because the only way to make the pivot is when you feel intuitively inspired to do it. So here's an example. I was listening to this book, and there's this woman who was driving down the road. It was in the middle of a snowstorm, and she was going to pick up her daughters from school, from preschool. So they were young, so she couldn't be late. And she was guided to turn down a different street right before she was about to get to the school. And she's like, I don't understand why I want to turn here. But so she knows, she teaches about intuition. She turned down the street. Well, long story short, she ended up turning down a couple more streets, going away from the school, and she found a 2-year-old in a diaper walking around in the middle of a snowstorm. She grabbed the baby. She found her intuition led her to a certain house. She knocked on the door to try to figure out which house the baby belonged to. And it was the babysitter going, oh my gosh, why do you have my baby? And she was like, what? And she had no idea that the 2-year-old had gotten out of the house. So she was willing to pivot. She was willing to not go where she was planning to go to pick up her own daughters in the middle of a snowstorm, knowing that they were safe at school, but she was guided to turn down different streets. So she honored it, and look what happened. Her angels and guides were literally leading her to save somebody. And there's other situations where we can learn to use this skill, and one of them is in athletics. So I was an athlete growing up my whole life. I played field hockey, I played golf, I played basketball, soccer, all the things. And especially in like basketball, when you're playing defense, the more I learned about intuition and all of this later in life, I was like, oh my gosh, I was always doing this back on the court back in the day. But I would observe people's hips, the flow of their energy. I could always read where they were going next. And one of my favorite things in field hockey was I was always able to use my hips to trick them, to make them think I was going to be hitting the ball in a certain direction, and then I wouldn't. So I was known as this midfielder, this back, who, when I got the ball, I was doing something awesome and like cool with it. I was breaking ankles, as they call it. So I would be moving the ball away from the player. I would be facing my hips towards where they think, where I want them to think I'm sending the ball. And then I would use my upper body to hit the ball exactly the opposite direction. And it was one of my greatest talents. Like, I was always able to hit my left wing when everybody thought I was going to go up the right sideline to hit my right wing. I would pretend like I was going to hit there, and then I would turn at the last minute and do a crossbody hit all the way across the field to the left side, hitting my left wing as she's approaching the circle. Boom, she scores a goal, because nobody thought that I could see where she was, but I could feel where she was. And I knew the trick of using my hips and my energy to make people think I'm going one way and then go the opposite way. Same thing in basketball. Players do this all the time. And I think it was Phil Jackson, one of the greatest coaches of all times. He actually taught his players to read their hips. And that's energy. You're reading the feelings, the emotions, everything's in the body when you're thinking about that. You're not analyzing with your head. You are using energy to read the situation, to read the play, where it's going to happen. You're looking at the hips. Okay. And this is all, and it's funny because I use the word pivot, which is all about basketball, but pivoting in life, you have to read situations and realize, oh, wow, like I thought I was going this way, but I have to go this way now. And it's so across the board. We can use it in so many different situations. But another example is, so I always like to kind of not be a super strict planner and book like hotel rooms, and like I kind of like to be really trusting and to see what the universe is going to bring me. If something doesn't feel right when I'm booking it, then I don't book it. And I'm like, nope. Or if it's not as good as I want it to be, I'm like, universe can do better. I can do better. The universe is going to bring me better. And it's so funny because I had this thought, and I was listening to a story on YouTube of a woman. She was going to London, and she was just like me. She's like, yeah, she's like, I wait last minute and I always get the best accommodations. It's so cool. So she waited last minute. She booked this 3-star hotel. And when she got there, she went there, or no, I'm sorry. She didn't book it. She just found a 3-star hotel. She went there and she went in and they were all booked. And she was like, okay, what's angels guides, guide me to somewhere new. So she immediately prayed when the guy said, sorry, we're booked. And he goes, but we have another hotel a couple miles down the road. I think you'll like it. We're going to set you up there instead. Meanwhile, this hotel is a hotel that nobody can get a reservation at. And it's a 5-star hotel in London. I think it was the Waldorf. It was like super, super nice. So not only did she leave it up to her angels and guides to hook her up in the most expensive hotel on her visit when she wasn't really sure if that was going to happen, she was just like, let me just see where I go. They led her to the 3-star because they knew it would be booked. And they knew that that nice man would send her to the 5-star sister hotel. They even paid for her taxi to go there. So when we are willing to listen to that guidance, to pivot, to say, okay, if it's not open here, I'm going to be willing to pivot. He said, yeah, go to this place. Okay, I'm going to go there because I'm going to trust that my angels and guides are leading me somewhere better. So are you willing to change? Are you willing to stay frustrated when something is booked? Or are you open to see maybe something better is here for me? So being flexible and being willing to pivot on this journey is huge, because if you are rigid and if you are strict, you're not going to allow your spirit to move you. You're not going to be open to the miracles, because the miracles always, always, always happen in those weird situations where you think it's not going to work out. And then your guides literally make it work out for you. Before I end this video, I'm going to give you one more example. I was listening to, I think it was Esther Hicks. She was talking about a woman, or no, I think it was Esther. She was on a flight. Was it her? I can't remember. Anyway, she was on a flight and she was about to get on the flight, but they needed somebody to forego their ticket. They needed somebody to, hop on another plane. It was booked or whatever. And her intuition was saying, go volunteer. But she was like, no, I need to get home for work. I have to do this. I have to do that. I can't miss this flight. But she was literally sitting in her chair. Her intuition was saying, go be the person. And right when she was about to go up and go volunteer, some guy hopped up and jumped in front of her. Right. So he gets the hookup, whatever. He ends up, because you get you get a discount for being like forgoing your flight. So anyway, she's like, all right, I guess that wasn't meant to be then. So she gets on the plane, she's buckling in, and all of a sudden, this guy comes onto the flight and sits right next to her, and he's all happy, and he's like, you're not going to believe this. He's like, they just gave me a free flight. The ticket opened up for me to still go home. And oh, I remember where it was. It was Tosha Silver's book. It wasn't Esther Hicks. This was Tosha Silver. She wrote this in a book. And he was so excited because he got all the accommodations and he still got to go on the flight home. It all worked out because some lady, her cat, I don't know, she had an emergency with her cat and she had to get off the flight. So he ended up taking that woman's spot. So he got a free flight out of it, and he got to go home on the flight he was supposed to go home on. So Tosha, that author that was in the airport, she was being guided by her intuition to pivot, even when it didn't make sense. She's like, intuition, why do you want me to not take this flight when I need to get home for work? And her intuition and angels and guides were saying, trust me, you're still going to get home, but you're going to get some free money with it. And that's what our angels and guides want us to do. So when things don't make sense, when turning down a street doesn't make sense, when canceling something doesn't make sense, always follow that. There's so many times where I cancel readings with my clients, and then we end up connecting, and something happens in the time that I canceled to the time that we met. And it was like they needed to experience this thing before their session with me. And we're sitting on the session going, oh my gosh, this happened in that time that we canceled. And they'd be like, yeah, I guess that was the universe and our guides wanted me to experience that before we did this reading, because then I was able to help them through that tough experience. So I've experienced it so many times in my life that I have learned to never, ever, ever question my nudges. Even this morning, I woke up and I was like, you know what? I just want to sleep in. I'm staying in this house 2 more nights. And I'm like, I just want to appreciate being here. And something just said, no, Michelle, go home and go to the gym. Go home and go to the gym. So I went, got my coffee, got home, and one of my favorite people, they were in the gym and I got to work out with them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how cool is this that I was guided to go home to go work out, and I got to work out with a friend who I love. And it was so fun. And I didn't know that they were going to be there, and they're never, ever normally there. So it was just such a cool, I can just trust my intuition. I can trust that it's always guiding me to what's best for me. And I have to stop second guessing it. And this is a message for all of you. Be willing to pivot, be willing to change, be willing to do something that maybe you originally woke up and didn't really want to do today. Do it. Okay. Follow your nudges, and your body is your beacon. I posted a video. It's either going to be coming out or I already posted it. And it's all about tuning into your body to listen to where it's guiding you, or to listen to an ailment that's happening. And it might be saying, this person that you're dating, they're not good for you. And it might be why you're having a lot of like UTIs or bladder infections. So your body is a beautiful beacon, but we have to be willing to pivot. We have to be flexible. We have to be willing to dance and to move when our body says, go here, even though this road makes sense. Your body's saying this way, you go that way. Okay. And another indicator before I leave you is if you're having the thought over and over and over again, it's usually something you should do. Okay. If it's a quick little like, yeah, we should start that project, or I should clean this, follow it. Just start taking action. And if you start doing it and it doesn't feel like you're resonating with it, then you can stop. But if you never take action, you're never going to know. All right, lovies, like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. I hope you enjoyed this video. I want everyone to work with their spirit, with their soul, to let it move you to all of your joy and happiness. All right, lovies, I will see you in the next one. Peace out.